focus, determination, passion, stamina, and the will to win. The end result, the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. Extreme Motorsports brings you the Ricmotech Sports Car Series, brought to you by Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment, and by Proforma, Elite Texas Graphics, live Mondays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
It's Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series time, and it's time for round number 5 here from the Circuit of the Americas, the same circuit Formula One travels to this upcoming weekend. We're currently in qualifying for the moment, and it's presented by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. Hope you're enjoying us, and I hope you're enjoying the coverage all season. From myself, Jonathan Swan, welcome along to the coverage. Tyler Maxson, you are alongside me, and not only have you raced this circuit in the virtual world, you've raced it in the real world, of course, too. There are the details up on screen. Now, we're using the west layout, so the back portion of the racetrack, that long straight from turn 11 to turn 12 isn't used, and this circuit proves quite a challenge. You've got all the fun sections in there, let me tell you that.
Yeah, you certainly do. That's probably the best section of the entire racetrack. I mean, I just love that front section, both in the real world and in the virtual world. It's a very tough and technical track, this one is, and it's going to prove a big challenge for these drivers over 60 minutes of racing tonight.
And you yourself are now officially a champion in the MX-5s. Congratulations to you. It's been a long season in the real world, and hopefully that means that our MX-5 field this afternoon will be looking up to your advice throughout the rest of the year on the broadcast.
Yeah, thank you about that one, Johnny. Yeah, it was a very stressful last race for us in Las Vegas about a week and a half ago now. And yeah, we're still high on our heels on that one. And yeah, just cannot wait to commentate now on some MX-5 racing, now knowing that at least something of what I say is halfway true.
And of course, there are the track details up on screen. So it is a 3.6 kilometer circuit, the west layout of COTA. So like I said, you go through the S's section on the right-hand side of that track map, but you don't complete the entire section, and you don't have that long straight from turn 11 to turn 12. So that's something that we won't get to visit too often, but that's it. The rest of the circuit still being used, the exciting final sector. And we're going to see a lot of drivers struggle with off tracks in those last couple of corners, Tyler, due to the off-camber nature of both corners, but most notably that second to last one.
Yeah, certainly. It's a very tough last sector here at this track, and it's really, I think we're going to see a lot of drivers pick up some 1Xs here, which is going to make it a really difficult time if you're trying to go for bonus points in the championship. It's going to be very, very difficult to not pick up those off tracks because you get a tiny bit of understeer here, and really to push and get as much time as you need to put that car on the absolute limit through those corners, and you push just that little bit too much and you're off and you're picking up an off track, and you can only pick up 6 of those, or you will get or you won't get any championship bonus points. So that's going to be something that the drivers have to think about and are really going to have to work towards over the 60-minute endurance.
Ahead of our 60-minute event coming up in just a few minutes' time. Hope you enjoy the track guide.
And just as we fix a couple of technical difficulties here, before we get going, let's go ahead and jump over to our track guide brought to you by Kevin Ford, once again, in the Ford Mustang, here for COTA.
Welcome, everyone, to Circuit of the Americas, located right here in Austin, Texas. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today in the Ford Mustang around this 2.6-mile road course, a shorter version of the typical 3.4-mile GP course length here at COTA. This track is relatively new to the motorsports world, being opened in 2012, and is known for its unique 10-story climb up to turn 1 here as we get up through the gears and head down the front straightaway. You'll notice the big grandstands to the right as we come across the line there. Very fast front straightaway here, provides a very quick entry up this hill into turn 1. Very difficult corner. The starts of races here, you'll see cars 3 and 4 wide battling for that first position to come out of 1 and down this very fast hill into turn 2, a right-hand sweeper that leads us into the S's. So we set up for the first one here into 3, back to the right through 4, back to the left through 5, and then we're going to make our little cut through here into the short section of the course. It's going to take us to the backstretch, down into second gear as we get ready for the exit, and back out onto the backstretch and heading down to what's known as turn 12 on the GP layout. Another tight entry here into 12. Back to throttle, setting up a wide left track out entry into 13. Get that early rotation, easy on the throttle. This flat section of the course gets very slick. Very late apexing entry into 15 here. Back again to throttle, up through the gears. This will take us to this very fast triple right-hand corner here through 16, through 17. And now up into fourth gear through the very fast right-hander of 18. Down the hill here into 19. Come off the brake. We're going to roll that center. Come right back to throttle. Bring that car right out to the edge of the track and set up this late apexing entry into 20. This brings us back out onto the front straightaway. We want to get a good launch here as we come up the straight. And across the starting line, there is your track guide for the short version here, the 2.6 layout of Circuit of the Americas. Thank you for being with us.
So welcome back, and hope you enjoyed today's track guide. Now it's time to look at our championship standings for the season so far. And it's a good time to look at our our ST class, first of all, excuse me. And this is your MX5 field. Now, look at the tight gap there, Tyler, between our top 4. And most notably, D2D Esports Eric Violet leads the championship without a win to his name.
Yeah, that is pretty crucial there for the championship. I mean, you can just see how close it is. There is 2 points separating the top 4 drivers and 3 points separating the top 5. That's about as close of a championship as you can get. And that was one of the things that I just love about the Ricmotech Sports Car Series and how close this ST battle is and how close these MX5s are, is that it provides great racing and it provides super close championship battles. And even if you look, 6th, 7th, and 8th, all tied on 90 points, and they are only 12 points back from your championship leader, Eric Violet. I think that this is probably the closest championship that we've seen in this series in a long time.
And we're only halfway through it, so it's definitely going to get ever tighter, ever more heated up in terms of competition. And Eric Violet, most notably, has not won a race in the ST class, I believe, in his career here for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. I go back to season 10, and I still don't see a win to his name, and I don't even see him pop up in the championship standings. So for Eric Violet, definitely don't think he has a win to his name. We switch over to the GS championship standings, and no surprise, Aero Nom number 1.
Yeah, really no surprise there. He's won every race so far this season. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing really much more to say about the guy other than that he has literally dominated every single race of the year so far. And his closest competitor, Kevin Ford, about 20 points behind him. And yeah, I think that really shows how it's been for the first few rounds of this championship. Kevin Ford has finished second, I think, every single round here. So it's just kind of the way this championship is going. I think Aeronom's just slowly starting to walk away with it. Um, and I think it's going to be a little bit too far out of reach here for Kevin Ford here soon. If he doesn't start picking up the wins, which is going to be very, very difficult because we know how fast Aero is.
Yeah, most certainly. Aero Nom is pretty much been untouched this season in your GS class. He has 4 race wins to his name out of 4, and he's looking to make that 5 this evening here from the Circuit of the Americas. Now, strategy, of course, for the 60-minute event. We're expecting 1 stop only for these drivers, Tyler. Expected to be made about half an hour into the event.
Yeah, just like you said, about a half an hour into the event, we'll see the drivers come in for their first pit stops. But the most crucial part is whether drivers are going to take 2 tires or going to take none. I would expect the drivers in the GS class to take 2, as we've seen them do many times this season. But I think that most of the MX5s are going to choose to take no tires because I don't think it's going to be that hard on tires here today. I think that this track is generally pretty easy on them, other than a couple of those fast, high-speed corners. So I think in general, the MX-5s are going to have a bit easier time than those Mustangs are over the course of the long run on tires.
I find that really fascinating because that final sector is ever so thrilling and ever so high speed. Here is the grid, though, for today's event, and you can see the darker colored blue is our Pro Division drivers. The lighter colored is our Open class drivers for your GS class. Overall, they're basically your subdivisions, and Aero Nom will start on pole position yet again this campaign, and it's a driver who's only had 6 incident points the entire season. He's driven that well, and he will be joined by the ever-quick Kevin Ford, who really challenged him quite well at Bathurst, so don't look at that 0.7 of a second gap and think that Aero Nom has no chance. Kevin Ford could certainly be in contention here for a race win. Jeff Jacobs driven splendidly, only 7 incident points to his name for the season, so he's driven consistently. Cameron Martineau joins them on the second row. Tyler Schiffler rounds out the top 5. Now, it'll be good to see if Clint Vigas has a clean event this time. Didn't have the best of races at Bathurst, don't forget, with all the grid penalties and then the incident in the opening lap, saying goodbye to him early on. And then you can see the rest of the grid on screen. 12 drivers for your Mustangs here. It's good to see. And then we switch over to our ST class. And Mike Dam on pole position, the Canadian. He will start alongside Robert Hartley, DJ Alessandrini, and Travis Schwenke start behind them. And then it's Jim List and Jacob Beasley, who makes a step up to pro now. Eric Violet will start down the order ahead of our leader for the Open class of Elvis Rankin. I look at that MX5 field, Tyler, and not to look away from our GS class, I think that can still be good racing for the top, depending how quick Kevin Ford is. But you look at the top 8 grid positions for MX5, and I have to say, even the likes of Elvis Rankin in the Open car is in contention for a win.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly is, and we've seen Elvis be fast in the past. He was fastest in practice here today, so I really wouldn't count him out for a high finishing position or possibly even a win. Could Elvis Rankin? I really think that he could do quite well here in this race. He's definitely got the speed. It's just now about whether he can keep that consistently for this 1-hour race, because really, I think that's really what it comes down to here is consistency in this championship wins races. It's really not speed. You can have the fastest outright pace and just not have that race pace and get absolutely walked by these guys. So that's really what it comes down to. And Russ Ruddock is having issues getting off the line here.
Yep, and this is where we began our pace lap through the middle part of the lap, and something... He's let the entire field through, so the Flying Tortoise Motorsports car... Goodness me, that's bizarre already, and we're ready to kick off the race, though, soon, so... we'll certainly keep you updated on what's going on with the number 95 Mustang. But nevertheless, though, Aeronom should be coming up to the final corners surely by now, I'd assume. There they are, penultimate corner. This is that tough challenge where you'll see drivers potentially run wide and pick up an off-track here. It's just such a... I mean, you saw it in IndyCar in the real world, didn't you? It became quite ridiculous over the event there. But now, nevertheless, though, 60 minutes of racing coming up again. We had our 90-minute format at Bathurst. We returned to our 60-format sprint. And now, we're ready to commence racing from the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Aeronom will floor it, and we go green from COTA.
Look at that start there from Jeff Jacobs and that number 38. Look at Tyler Shiflett trying to make it 3 wide up into turn number 1. They're going to be 3 wide there on the second row. Back. Oh, Aeronom almost gets a touch, and Kevin Ford's around. Ford has been tagged around, and he is going to lose a lot of positions and fall to second to last in that in the GS field. He has lost a lot of places right off the bat. Let's jump back to your ST cars.
And it looks like Ford has some damage as well to the Mustang, so that's not going to help his start. But here we go, green for our MX-5 class. 4 wide already? Why not? Why not here at the beginning of the race now? It's going to bottleneck into this first corner right now. Hartley around the outside. That looks like Mike Dam on the inside. And who's splitting them? DJ Alessandrini in the middle. Still have no clue who's going to lead into the first lap. It looks like Robert Hartley.
And look at that start from Hartley. He went from second on the grid round the outside. They were 3 wide all the way through turn 1. Look at Schwenke get loose there. Oh, Schwenke's round. He's been tagged round by, I think that was a D2D Esports car with Jim List. And that is not the start that he wanted either for that car. So drivers are really finding it difficult to get through that first sector of this race already.
Yeah, but we can confirm that Hartley leads, but that's not good for Travis Schwenke right there. Certainly going to put him on the back foot for the rest of this event. He falls down to the rear end of the order, so he's going to have to pick off over 17 different MX-5 cars to have to win this race over the next 59 minutes. Now remember, Robert Hartley did something similar at Laguna Seca, so we can see it again. For Kevin Ford, though, he's got 6 Mustangs to pass, and he'll end up in P1. The good thing for Ford is that he hasn't lost as much time in comparison to Schwenke. He's only about 7 seconds off the lead here, and another brilliant move possibly over Derek Holland.
Yeah, we are having a bit of overlay issues, so Aeronom is your overall leader right now. And I do have a replay here of what happened to Travis Schwenke. Let's see if we can find out what happened on board here with Jim List as they head up into turn number 1. It's a very steep climb, and then they will head into the S's section, one of the most difficult sections on the racetrack, especially whenever you're going 2 and 3 wide. And I think, from what I saw, Travis just got a little bit loose and got tagged around there, basically just got finished off by Jim List.
Yeah, so there's Schwenke in that number 16 blue MX-5. He's already pushing it. You know what? I have to tell you, I don't think Jim List was really involved at the end of the day. It looked like Schwenke just got a little bit too hot into the corner.
I would completely agree with you on that one, Johnny. I think it was just a bit too loose there for Travis Schwenke, and Jim List was pretty much just the innocent bystander and all that, and just had nowhere to go but into him. But nonetheless, Hartley leads, Alessandrini second, Dam third. Then it'll be Jim List in 4th, Elvis Rankin in 5th, and Eric Violet down in 6th place. But everyone's still very close. But that has separated out the field a little bit here. But nonetheless, at least your front battle is still raging on up front.
Yep, Mike Dam here on screen. He's right behind DJ Alessandrini. And they're both... Look at the Excite racing car of Hartley. He's already got about a 1.2 second advantage here, doesn't he? I think over Alessandrini. It's now creeped down to about 9/10 there on screen, so it's just slowly fluctuating, of course, the gap there, but Hartley looks speedy in this opening stint.
And Kevin Ford starting to make his climb back through the field here. He's just running his way through, right up on the back end of Derek Holland. The open driver, not fighting Ford technically for position, but is fighting him for overall position, so he won't be giving up the move too easily to the Ricmotech Motorsports car. Kevin Sterling, he's on the back foot now, let's be honest. He's got a long way to go to catch up to that front group again, and an even longer way to Aero Nam. I think that's pretty much his chances of a win over at this point, unless Aero has some sort of major issues that pretty much takes him out of the race. I think that Kevin's just a bit too far back to do that. I think it's going to be a challenge for him right now, even to get up into the podium places, because right now he's a good 2 to 3 seconds back from that. So he's got a long way to go if he wants to get himself back onto the podium places, but he definitely has the time to do it.
And a brilliant pass around Derek Holland in the final sector. So Ford now finally makes his way past that Mandalorian racing car. And I don't think Holland would fight back here. He's got to be careful of Clint Vigas, who hasn't had the best of starts either. And we're now right on board with the American of Kevin Ford. Now for Kevin here, Tyler, again, he was much quicker than Derek, but we saw their overtaking isn't the easiest at this circuit layout.
No, it's certainly not. I mean, he's going to really have to fight for every move. There's going to really be nothing given to him. It's a very tough track to pass at. I can tell you that from the real world and from here. You pretty much just got to lick the stamp and send it. If you're making a pass here, there's really nothing easy about trying to get an overtake done and get it done cleanly. So, you know, you've either got to do a bit of contact or you've just got to full-blown send it. Or you're not going to be making the pass here. It's just the simple matter of the circuit layout. But that's what makes the racing here so good, is that it's not easy to pass. Drivers really get kind of bunched up into these little groups. Everyone's just kind of slicing and dicing in between the groups. But there's not really a huge pack racing here, which I personally really like. I think it's really awesome to see the smaller little packs just going at it for the entire race. And that's really what this circuit promotes.
Exactly, and you do lose that long straight from turn 11 to turn 12, so that's a straight that won't help the drivers overtake. But again, like, you know, as much as we like seeing overtaking on the straights, I'd love to see it into a corner like this, which is almost impossible, as we see look at the damaged MX-5 there of Rankin. Now, wait a second, what's happened to Alessandrini? Alessandrini's dropped down the order to 4th. He was in 2nd, and that's why he's right ahead of that damaged MX-5 of Elvis Rankin. So Alessandrini with some problems.
And I'm just looking for the incident that happened between Alessandrini. So far, I'm seeing nothing. So I'm going to continue to look for that here and see if I can't figure out what happened to him. But yeah, like you said, that is a lot of damage front end to that MX-5. And I wonder how much time that's costing him, because, you know, it's not something that you want to have, especially at a track like this. You don't have very long straightaways, but the straights that you do, the draft, that just makes it that much more important. And you can see, actually, the damage is getting a bit worse there on the front end of Alessandrini. The hood is starting to fold up a bit. So this is really not the start that he wanted to his race, being in that close, tight championship battle.
Yeah, so certainly find out what's happened to Alessandrini. Again, I reckon it was he was awfully close to Mike Dam, so maybe those two were close together. Is this wonderful rise up to turn 1 here? Is that as thrilling as it looks in the real world, that rise to turn 1?
That rise to turn 1 is like nothing else. You climb up in towards turn number 1, and you can brake so late there. In our MX-5s, we were doing about 110 miles an hour going into there, and you can brake at about the 200 board, which is about the latest that I broke going that fast at most any track. It's something that's really, really special. And you can, it's so fun to just attack up into there, and it's quite the climb, I will have to say.
Yeah, it's something that it's ever so thrilling. I've seen this circuit race. How many series we've had here? We've had Formula One, NASCAR, supercars. Oh, we'll count that later because look what's happened to Alessandrini. More issues here through the middle part of the lap. He's dropped another spot to the defined auto works car of John Allen. And now look at Eric Violet here, our championship leader. He's all over the rear end of DJ. And now Alessandrini with damage to the front end. So have things gotten even worse for the American?
Yeah, so that is a bit worse of damage than he even had before. So Alessandrini really having problems here. He may even lose a position to Eric Violet. And this is going to have major repercussions for him in the championship battle because it's so tight for them that, you know, they just haven't, they don't have any time to be having bad races. They have the drop week, but you don't want to have to rely on that. You want it to be your drop week is like a 5th place finish, and that is considered a bad weekend for you as Russ Ruddock is starting to make his way through this ST field. This is 4 positions, so Ruddock obviously having major issues here on the start. And I think he's having some sort of either technical difficulty or he's got a lot of damage to that Mustang.
Yeah, and for Ruddock, I mean, what, he started at the rear end of the field, and I mean, I think he's making progress now, I would say. He's just trying to make his way past all these MX-5s. Now, the problem for Ruddock is because he started behind the MX-5 field for whatever issues he had that you were discussing, he's racing for position now. These drivers do not have to adhere to the rules. There's no blue flags to adhere to, so he's going to have to pass them out there on the racetrack safely.
Yeah, and I just, honestly, I don't think that Ruddock has got the pace to do it. And as John Allen, I think he just missed his shift there. I think that's exactly what happened to Alessandrini the lap before. Nonetheless, Alessandrini's definitely still struggling. But I think that's what actually cost him to lose the position to John Allen, because that looks exactly like what happened to Alessandrini 1 lap ago. So obviously the driver's having issues getting that car into gear out of the tight left-hander. It's a very difficult corner to get the car into gear in real life, and it's certainly difficult in the sim as well. Trying to make that shift just as fast as possible where you still got some wheel input into it, and it's very easy just to miss the gear and go into 5th instead of 3rd.
Yeah, but Allen behind here is trying to hound Alessandrini, is ever so experienced in the MX-5. Here we ride on board with John Allen and watch him work the wheel. Oh, he's run a bit wide there. That'll certainly pick up an off-track. But, hey, you know what, Tyler? You might as well use your off-tracks to your advantage because that's going to be a move.
Yeah, it certainly is. He's definitely used that to his advantage as much as possible. But, you know, you can't be picking up a whole lot of those, because if he picks up a lot, then he will not get a bonus point in the championship. And I think that we can be honest, that's probably the easiest one to get out of them all. We know how tight and competitive this series is, and you can just see, obviously, by the championship standings. 2 points separated the entire field, and whenever you calculate in these bonus points, if you don't get all 12, that could be the difference between you winning and losing this championship.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, it's almost ridiculous to see drivers not pick up all 12, because you can pick up the 12 bonus points in, let's say, 4 rounds, and after that, you can't pick up any more, so you've essentially reached the limit. So, again, at the end of the day, it sort of almost nullifies the effect of the bonus points, because everyone almost picks up 12. I'm not saying everyone does, but you get what I mean there. So sometimes if you play it right and get those bonus points out of the way early, you don't have to worry about them in the late rounds.
Yeah, I could completely agree with that. It's probably, if you can, you should get those bonus points. I would say the quickest that you can get them. And then just not even have to worry about them. Then you can just go out and race, get as many off tracks as you want. As long as you don't go over the limit, though, because there's still a per race limit. But you can get right up to that limit and really not have to worry, knowing that you won't have to get that bonus point. If you've got the maximum, they can't take them away from you. You've got those locked and loaded, and then it's just all about your finishing position in racing.
And who are we watching here? This is Tyler Shiflett right behind Cameron Martineau. Shiflett 3rd overall. Martineau doing really well in the open class, has to be said. Cameron Martineau driving really well right now for Martineau Racing. Shiflett racing for Matt Motorsports. As we know, I'm sure he cares more than Matt as he's hunting Martineau down for that podium position. Difference in I rating right now, Shiflett 5.3K, Martineau 2.7K. So take that information for how you want it. Don't forget Jeff Jacobs behind though as well. And Kevin Ford. Kevin Ford's back up the order into the top 5.
Yeah, Ford is making a charge up into 5th place. Look at him. He's actually just right there. Let's ride on board with him up in towards turn number 1. He's going to send it around the outside of Jeff Jacobs. He's going to do the undercut on him, and I think he's going to have that position if he can just get the traction down, and I think that he can, but no, they're actually going to go side by side through the right-hander, and he will have to slot back in line.
Yeah, this is very difficult to overtake through the S's section. We know what happened to Travis Schwenke in the opening laps. Schwenke's picked up a few ST cars in his class, but has been unable to really reel himself back into the top 5 yet. It's been very early, and there is Schwenke on screen, the Excite Racing / Asbury Motorsports car, representing both teams, of course, this evening, and in a partnership with Robert Hartley's Excite Racing. Those two will be working together throughout this campaign for season 15. But for Alessandrini, did we still get any word to what happened? What went wrong to him, Tyler? Did I miss that?
I have not seen anything on DJ Alessandrini in our event logger, so I have no evidence of a crash here for him. And look at these guys. They're all battling for position as they go through the tail end of the ST traffic. The faster GS cars trying to deal with them as they go by the number 98 Frito Sport car.
Oh, goodness. And Ford's caught that number 98 of Michael Key at the worst possible part of the racetrack right there, through the apex of a very difficult off-cambered penultimate corner. Now he's got to run here on the street survival car of Jeff Jacobs. And I think he'll be a little bit too far back, but you know what? These Mustangs very quick in a straight line. The slipstream very effective. And Ford will play it safe for now.
That's probably the smarter decision, though, let's both be honest, for Kevin Ford to not send it down the inside. Ooh, Jacobs very close to that ST car. And, oh, Ford's actually going to go through. So Kevin Ford up in a P4. Very opportunistic there from Kevin Ford, and he actually is going to scare the ST driver off the track there. So these GS cars really getting into the head of the number 45 of Eric Chrysler. So he's really obviously not having a good time there. And look at that. Jeff Jacobs is going to lose another position, presumably to a slowdown penalty caused by that MX-5 forcing him off the racetrack. But that's the part of being in the faster class, is that you don't always get the most, let's say, preferable passing opportunities for you. Let's look at this battle in the front of your ST field. Dam and Hartley, they're still in a line here. They've got 9 seconds to Jim List, so they've really got nothing to worry about at this point. I would say that the victory is between these two, unless they take each other out or have some sort of catastrophic incident. But I don't see these two doing that anytime soon. They've always raced each other very clean, but they're not afraid to race each other hard.
Yeah, I've been expecting quick pit stops, of course, too. We'll see whether or not one of them decides to go for 2 tires instead of 4, or no tires at all. We never know. We'll wait and see come pit stop time. But at the bottom of the screen, you can see one driver making an early pit stop, and that's Jacob Beasley. Beasley is in the Beasley's racing car. There he is. Ran green rims, didn't he, last season as he exits the pit lane? Now into blue rims.
Yeah, so he has made the switch from the green-rimmed MX-5 to the blue-rimmed MX-5. So definitely vibrant colors, I think Jacob Beasley is going for on that MX-5. And if that is what he's going for, he's doing a great job at doing it because they love it. I think that I personally think it's one of the better looking liveries out there just because of how vibrant it is. I personally like very bright colors, so kind of biased towards it, but definitely not a bad look that he's got going.
No, definitely not. This is Chris Thorman now that we watch on screen. Thorman himself began the race in 23rd overall, now in a 17th, so he's up 6 positions from his starting spot. Thorman in one of many D2D esports cars out there. Jim List, his teammate Eric Violet, also racing I don't see Bobby Charles racing, unfortunately, this evening.
Yeah, so just looking at our YouTube chat, Bobby is seeming to have suffered from bad burritos. So unfortunately, he will not be racing here tonight. But he hopefully will be making a return next week in one of the army of D2D esports cars that we see out there racing. And I really think that if D2D esports wanted to start an army of MX-5s, they would certainly have the drivers to do so.
Yeah, how did yeah, that's never good there for Bobby Child, so get well soon. Everyone's had a bad batch of food sometime in their life, but always good to see Bobby racing out there. So that's one less D2D esports car we don't have. Schwenke's still in 10th, just keeping you updated on that. Schwenke's trying to make his way up through the field. Now, Violet, our championship leader, I wouldn't say anything's gone wrong for him this race. He's made up a few spots here at the start, but I'd say for him, though, it's not as quick as we expected. Now, again, we don't see Eric Violet winning many events, Tyler, but if he wants to win this championship, he's got to start doing so.
Yeah, he certainly does. If he wants to win the championship, he's got to step it up a little bit and start performing those high-end performances, because with how close the championship is, if it comes down to a tie at the end of the season, you need to have those race wins, because that's what it falls back on, is the number of race wins that you have. So you need to start racking those up in case of a tie. You always want to be prepared than unprepared, because it's better to have everything in line and really be able to have a good fighting chance going into that final race. But right now it's looking to me like he's a long way off of victory in this race. He's going to have to really have a good weekend in these next few races if he wants a chance at a championship.
And it looks like Mike Dam has made his way past here. The Canadian is past Robert Hartley for the lead in your ST class. So Mike Dam there in P1. Showing on the timing screens he's in the lead. Now, sometimes we've had some issues with that. So Hartley now finally demoted from P1 after his rapid start. And now we confirm visually Mike Dam straight past, but not ever easily past right now, as Hartley looks like he's hungry to reclaim that first position back.
Yeah, Hartley never likes to fall out of the lead, and right now he is certainly back on the hunt for it. Mike Dam really starting to actually pull away there just a bit from Robert Hartley. It's now up to a 0.4 of a second gap. It was 0.2 just a couple of corners ago. Now he's almost grown it out to 5. Look at Hartley, though, close it back up in just one corner of racing. This is how close these two are in pace. They really just even each other out over the course of a lap.
And we watch the gap here on the main straight as they begin another lap at the Circuit of the Americas. Like I said, Formula One is actually traveling to here right now after the Mexican Grand Prix. They're going to be racing here over the weekend. This circuit initially broke ground about 2010, finally finished building in 2012, as we watch Russ Ruddock finally make his way past Jim List, I think. Struggling to get that Mustang accelerated. He should have better top-end speed, so he's only going to have 2 more MX-5s to make his way past before he finally catches onto the rear end of the Mustang field. But like we said, this circuit finally built in 2012, brought to iRacing a couple of years later, all laser scanned. And now we see our first pit stops of the day, a little bit earlier than the window, but Jeff Jacobs is one of those in the Street Survival Mustang. There he is on screen. Comes in, like we said, a lot earlier with a few other drivers.
Yeah, so he goes ahead and get that pit stop done. It's always nice to know that you've got your pit stop already done and dusted. You don't have to worry about it again, but it's also something that some drivers like to use in their back pocket. You know, having that opportunity to come into the pits and possibly be able to undercut someone, and it's also, on the flip side, nice to know that you've already got it done and you have a good 50 seconds, I would say, here. Delta that you can close up. It's almost like the Joker lap in Rallycross. It's something that you like to have, and whenever you've used it, it's also nice to know that as well, if it's a longer delta. but it's something that some drivers like to keep in their back pocket and try and extend the first stint as long as possible. And some drivers like the feel of the heavier car and will go for a bit of a longer, heavy stint.
And whilst we watch these two battle for the lead, we saw DJ Alessandrini enter the pit lane about a lap ago. So Alessandrini is now officially out of the order for the leaders. He's just come out ahead of Jacob Beasley. There is Alessandrini. Let's see if that car got repaired. It would have been a long pit stop. I don't know. It seems a little bit... I mean, you can't repair it cleanly, but it was a 19-second pit stop, so quite long, I'd say, for what we're expecting this afternoon. How about Shiflett in? Kevin Ford also in. And again, for Kevin Ford, it's about how long this pit stop will be due to the damage. And Kevin Ford there a lot quicker than Shiflett heading into the pit lane.
Yeah, and that could be the difference there, just being able to commit as you head into the pit lane. That's a very important thing to have, really, going into every event. You want to be able to be confident getting on and off pit road. It can definitely cost you and save you a lot of time over the course of the race. And Kevin Ford and Tyler Shiflett, it'll be a race off pit road for these two. Both will go up on the jacks. They'll both take 2 tires from the looks of it. And as they go now, we're 25 minutes into this race, so we're very on the early edge of the fuel window. And look at that, Kevin Ford out first, and he has jumped Shiflett in the pit stops.
Yep, so not a slow pit stop for Ford there with right side tires. And we expected him to repair some damage, so that's brilliant to see for Kevin Ford, who at best right now could still finish P2. He's ahead of the driver there, of course, of Tyler Shiflett. So we snatched that position away in the pit stop. Brilliant pit stop by our virtual Ricmotech Motorsports team. And now we watch Hartley here. Tell you what, though, Hartley, I mean, I find this a little confusing. Hartley, maybe towards the end of the stint, he seems to be struggling with tire wear or something, Tyler. I don't know if he has much damage, because he looked like he was running away with the lead. Now he's not.
Yeah, and that could easily be a case of a little bit over pushing. I mean, it's something that we don't often see from Robert. Obviously, being 9,600 I rating, he's definitely got experience, but having another driver as experienced as Mike Dam and as fast as Mike Dam right behind you, it may be a thing where he just felt the pressure a little bit, started pushing a bit too hard, and that cost him a lot of time. And it's definitely not something that you want to be doing, but it's something that even I fell foul to in the real world and in the sim. If you just have a good, fast driver behind you, it just takes that little bit and only a couple laps of over pushing to cook the tires and have a whole lot harder of a time getting through the race once that happens.
Oh, and hello. Welcome to Vigas and Holland. They're in the pit lane. Vigas now also servicing that number 71 car, a Met Motorsports car there. Teammates with Tyler Shiflett, of course. Let's see if the team now can help him make a more rapid pit stop. And now we switch straight away to Kevin Ford. Ford's already... Oh, Jesus. Ford looks like he's... Well, I mean, that looked like a rocket, basically. It looked like he was breaking the space-time continuum trying to make his way past the lapped MX-5.
Yeah, Kevin Ford definitely full send at this point right now. And I think that he's just really on the full frustration mode at this point. He's driving frustrated. And it seems to be when Kevin Ford drives the best, because right now he is absolutely flying in that Ricmotech Motorsports car. Look at him close the gap here on Lucas Ford, stuck behind him on a slower GS car. He's obviously in GS Open, so he's not technically fighting Ford for position, but he is fighting him for overall position, so he doesn't have to get out of the way. But I think Ford's just going to send it down the inside anyway. It's going to be a case of I'm taking the position, you are giving it up. And as Aeronom actually will dive down onto pit lane, Kevin Ford now has a long way to go if he wants to catch up to Cameron Martineau.
Yep, the Team Bushman car in the pit lane. Martineau will take that lead from Aeronom. Cameron Martineau now edges himself ahead into the first position officially, and will lead a lap here for the first time. Have a look at Robert Hartley all over the rear end of the Canadian. Not a home race for Mike Dam. We're at the Circuit of the Americas, but it's the United States of Americas we're talking about. Oh, and Tyler Shiflett right now. Shiflett there, has there been a slowdown possibly? He's had to he's had to let Jeff Jacobs through in that Street Survival Mustang.
Yeah, I think that was a slowdown there for Tyler Shiflett. He really had to get on the brakes coming out of the chicane. It's easy just to get a little bit too far to the inside of it and end up causing yourself a slowdown there, but he's not going to give up this position too easily. He's going to go back down the inside into turn number 1, I think, but he will stay behind. Probably the smarter move for Tyler Shiflett. Save a bit of fuel, save a bit of tires, and have a go at him again towards the end of the race. Let him overcook those tires. The track is definitely hot. We'll check out track conditions here right now, and you can see it's 32 degrees Celsius, and that's about 95 degrees for those of you in America. So definitely a very hot and slippery track, and you push that a little bit too hard, those tires are going to fall off easily, and that'll be the end of your race pretty much at that point. You will have a lot of time it will take to get those tires re-cooled down so that you can go for another hard push.
Yeah, I like that. That's some good insight there. So, tires ever so critical, of course, in this series, despite being a 60-minute race. Still a long event, though. We call it, well, I call it the sprint format for this series. The 90-minute enduros are still ever so exciting, and this is going to be ever so exciting here as Mike Dam butchers the middle section of the lap, and Hartley, well, I mean, Hartley should have had the lead there for a moment, and now they're going to be alongside here into what's turn 13 in the full layout, and Hartley now, oh goodness, I'm not sure who butchered what there, Tyler. Hartley should have had the lead, but didn't.
I personally think that Robert Hartley wants Mike Dam to go ahead of him. I think that he wants Mike to start to try and over push his tires and make his tires go off a bit quicker. I think that would probably be the smarter strategy to do if he can make that one work, but that's going to be very difficult to get ahead of Mike Dam. We know how strong he is in the head. He won't make mistakes easily, so it's going to be a very difficult task here if Robert Hartley wants to try and make Mike over push those tires and get that easier win, but it's certainly going to be a fight to the end between these two.
Look at the gap here on the main straight. Hartley will still be a bit too far behind here into turn 1, and they rise through. It's a lot of stories, isn't it, as you rise here at the Circuit of the Americas. It's quite an undulation change. I remember the first time I drove this in a sim, Tyler. I drove this in another sim, and then it was released on iRacing, so I get to try it out on both sims. And when you drive this track coming out of, I mean, look how brilliant that shot is, by the way. When you drive this track for the first time, you come out of the final corner and you go into turn 1, and it's really, it looks as thrilling as Eau Rouge does.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's a very fun circuit and a very fun just section to drive, really. I mean, this is a track like none other than we have in the U.S. This is certainly, you can tell, is our F1 circuit for us in America. It's, yeah, it's totally special. The only thing that I wish that iRacing would take out is those annoying little sausage curbs going through the S section. I think that would make it a whole lot better because we have those in the U.S., but they don't kill us like they do at iRacing. But they are this track still, though, is a ton of fun, and I think it deserves a bit more recognition than it gets. I think that really this track gets hated on quite a bit and doesn't have the participation levels that some of the other big tracks have. But I still think it's a really, really fun track to drive, and look at Mike Dam. He's going to come into the pits this time.
And Cameron Martineau pitted, so that handed the lead back in your GS class to Aero Nom. So our championship leader back in the lead there, but for the Canadian here of Mike Dam, he snatched the lead from Hartley. Now he's made an early pit stop. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Mike Dam takes 4 tires or 2. I'm assuming Mike Dam will go for right side tires. This is Kevin Ford now on screen, who's right behind the 16 there of Schwenke. Schwenke's had an abysmal event after that early contact on the opening lap. Just hasn't been able to drive that MX-5 back into the top end of the order. But for Mike Dam here, Tyler, he's in the pit lane. Let's have a look at him. He's going to reel himself in, I'd assume. He's going to slot in about at 6th, 7th position.
Yeah, I think that you're completely right about that. I think it's going to be about 6th position here in class for Mike Dam, but he will be the first of them to take tires. Look at Kevin Ford going wide. And one thing I saw, car 41 received some sort of a penalty for exceeding the track limits. That is Trevor Hill in your ST Open field. I think he had a drive-through penalty that he just served. But still, that's very unfortunate for him. It's something that you've got to be careful with having those live stewards. You have the opportunities to get live penalties here.
And you saw earlier on in the event the incident between Kevin Ford and Jeff Jacobs on the opening lap. It was under review and there was no action taken. So for those two, they'll continue on. It was deemed at least, I mean, I take that as a racing incident from race control, so that's what I assume they've deemed it as Robert Hartley, now our leader, enters the box. Now for Mike Dam, it was a 16.5-second pit stop. He was in the pit lane for about 49 seconds. That's almost as quick as you can go in the MX-5. You can go slightly quicker. So Hartley right now, in about 25 seconds time, you're going to see him alongside Mike Dam potentially.
Yeah, so certainly could here in just a few moments time. Let's see where Mike Dam is. He's going to come out of the final corner. It's going to be really close here between Hartley. Oh, he's already away.
Yeah, 2 tires for both Dam and Hartley, it seems. Now Hartley out and away. Is that him, I think, on the left? Yeah, there he is. I mean, the huge timing board here blocking our sight. But Hartley, that's not even close. It was a 44-second time in the pit lane for Robert Hartley. He gained 5 seconds in a pit stop.
Yeah, that was a very quick pit stop there from Robert Hartley. He really got that one perfect. And, wow, I don't really know much to say about that. I'm quite surprised on how he was able to do that. Oh, but he was going to lose a lot of time there. And actually, look at that. Now Mike Dam is right up behind him again. So everything he just gained in the pit stop is now gone.
Mike Dam worked so hard at the beginning of this event. Even snatched the lead from Hartley early on. Now he's all over the rear end of the American and still has an opportunity here. So Hartley there is behind Eric Violet. This is for position. Eric Violet doesn't need to get out of the way, and I don't think he wants to, because that championship battle is so tough. Only a few points separating our top 4 drivers, and this is not going to help Hartley at all here in the Excite Racing MX-5, Tyler, as he almost collides into Violet. Coming out of the exit, he has that much grip.
Yeah, they are really not giving each other any room here in the front end of these MX-5s. This is obviously for position, and it doesn't look as if Eric Violet is making it easy on these guys, but I don't really think they have a choice. I think they're coming through whether he wants it or not. Jumping back here, though, to your GS field. Jeff Jacobs, Tyler Shiflett, and Clint Vigas all in a very tight battle here. Shiflett and Vigas, obviously teammates there in the Meth Motorsports group. And they seem to be doing quite well for themselves, 5th and 6th today, respectively. Look at Kevin Ford. Worked his way all the way back up to P2, and with just 23 minutes left in this race, I really don't think that he's going to have much competition for Aeronom or from Cameron Martineau. So I think it will be another 2nd place finish here for Kevin Ford if he can hold it together here for this final 23 minutes.
And look at the multitude of pit stops at the bottom of the screen. We had 4 drivers in at one stage here, and with just about over 20 minutes remaining. Unfortunately for Russ Ruddock in that Flying Tortoise Motorsports GS car, he's going to have to fight for those MX-5s for track position yet again. Now the funny thing is, Tyler, here as we watch Hartley trying to make his way past the Defined Auto Works car of Allen, and he'll do exactly that. A brilliant move by Hartley, and he'll bring along Mike Dam with him. The 2 squabbling for the lead here. Actually, let's focus on this, because Mike Dam has an opportunity to snatch the lead from Hartley, but sending it to 15.
He does have an opportunity, and I think with most of the pit stops already taking place here, I think this is probably a good time to go to commercials here. So we're going to go thank the sponsors here of the Ricmotech Sports Car Series and everybody that makes these broadcasts and this series happen. So we'll be right back here in just a few moments' time on Apex Racing TV.
So welcome back to round 5 for season 15 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series, presented by Performer Elite Texas Graphics, of course. Now, apologies if there's been any microphone issues on my side. Very difficult sorting out some technical gremlins, as you know of, but all the focus is on Robert Hartley here on the rear end of Mike Dam. And this, don't forget, is a squabble for your lead right now. Hartley was passed by Mike Dam for that lead yet again, and we'll see if Hartley's going to be able to reel him in this time around, Tyler.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at it and see. Hartley is really on the bumper here of Mike Dam, and with 17 minutes left to go, it's going to be a matter of time here before Robert Hartley is able to clear Mike Dam, and if he's able to clear Mike Dam before 17 minutes is up, these two, if Hartley is able to get underneath Mike Dam, you know these two are going to have quite the battle. Because they are fighting each other for the championship, and really, those 2 or 3 points could be the difference between winning and losing this championship. We know how close it is between all the drivers, really. No one can afford to have a bad race, and these two also know that they can't take each other out, because with Schwenke way down the order, and actually he just got by Chris Thorman there, but with Schwenke way down the order, it's all about maximizing potential here. And gaining as many points on him as you can, because Schwenke's a very tough competitor to have, and you can't be throwing away good opportunities like this to gain some points on him.
And some late pit stops too there, Tyler, so I'm not sure if Violet and Ruddock's into the pit lane for a second time. Oh, his race just, I mean, it never was good, didn't it? I was going to say his race has gone from bad to worse. I know that's a overused quote, but it's certainly the best way to explain his event so far. Through the middle section here. Do you like this west layout more than the full layout? I'd rather prefer the full, but the west layout's still quite exciting. That little section we just went through there that rejoins the main track here is ever so thrilling.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have much experience of the west layout. I think I've only driven it maybe one time on iRacing, so I really don't have much experience to comment on, but I would assume that it's a really fun course to run, because really it takes the best aspects of this track and puts them into one circuit. There's really none of the long back straightaway and the, kind of the boringness that can bring. But yeah, I have a feeling that it's probably a really fun track to drive, but haven't ever driven it myself, so can't fully comment on that.
Well, these two have driven it virtually anyway on screen, and it doesn't look like we're going to be able to separate those two. Now, in your Mustang class, didn't we have that sort of scrap between, was it Jacobs, Vargas, and Shiflett? And now it looks like they're each separated by 5 seconds apart. So we're looking forward to something there in the closing stages. Now, why does that happen, Tyler? Do you think because of traffic?
I think the biggest reason is traffic, yes. I think that some drivers are just better at getting through traffic than others, and some of the time it's really just you have to be patient and wait. It's part of being in the faster class, and it's something that can be a bit frustrating at times, because you have to put your battle aside to let the faster class through, and it's not like the difference that we see in, say, the Le Mans series or something where there's a big point or there's a big speed difference. These cars are still decently similar in top speed and in cornering speed. If not, the MX-5 is a bit faster in the corners. So really, these Mustangs have to rely on their straight line speed only to get by these ST cars, and that can prove a real challenge for them, especially on old tires.
And that's why a lot of these drivers did go for 2 tires, and why it's going to prove that challenge. As Tyler Max in the commentary booth, alongside myself, Jonathan Simon, for this event. Tyler also producing behind the scenes. And Ruddock is into the pit lane for a 3rd time now this afternoon. Look at the bottom of the screen. Now, is he having to serve possibly a drive-through penalty there? Oh, goodness. We've seen better events from Russ Ruddock, let me tell you that what. I thought he drove well at Bathurst, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I thought he drove splendidly at Bathurst. This is just really a bad event for him. I just don't think that he's had really anything, I would say, right in this event. I think that this is probably his worst event that he's had all season. And I know this is probably going to sound bad, but I don't think that Russ was going fast enough to receive a drive-through penalty. I don't think he could have really done anything wrong that would have warranted one. So yeah, just a terrible night for him. I don't put too much blame on him, to be honest with you. I think it looks to me just like a bit of technical issues, and he's still sitting in the pits, so he may just be retiring that car for the evening. It's always terrible whenever you have what looks to be a technical gremlin behind the scenes, and that prevents you from performing at your top level. It's so frustrating, especially whenever you put in a lot of work for an event, and then for it all to be taken away from you just due to a technical failure.
Yeah, it's unfortunately unfortunate. As we ride on board with Mike Dam, let's have a listen to him. Short run down to what's turn 12 in the full layout, and then this is this twisty section from turns 13 onwards. And now we ride on board with the Excite racing car of Robert Hartley. Potentially a spot there to overtake, Tyler. Is overtaking easy through this left-hander in the real world?
If you get a run on the driver in front of you, yes. But if you're trying to just lick the stamp and send it, no. It's a very difficult corner to not just wash out wide and completely lose it. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a corner that's easy to get by some people sometimes, you know, if you're all packed up tight in a group. But if you're going for a late move, that's definitely not the corner to do it on. A lot of time, more often than not, actually, you will just completely wash out with the front end and end up out near the grass almost. So it's definitely a difficult corner to make a pass on, but if you can get it down the inside and get it stopped, you've got a very good opportunity to make sure that that driver doesn't cross you over.
And how suited is it that our leaders here in your MX-5 class are your closest battle in the field? There is Aeronomdo, the leader of your Mustangs, about to lap the leaders of your MX-5. So we'll keep an eye on this, and then hopefully it's all clean and all good. Whilst that's occurring, Greg Bockway, Michael Key, Eric Clister, they're in 16th to 18th respectively in your ST class. And those cars separated by half a second each. You can see as Tyler scrolls through the order, they're in your open class and they're all within each other here fighting for track position. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course, too. But for Robert Hartley and Mike Dam, let's see if Aeronom's managed to make his way past cleanly. Oh, and Robert Hartley's into the lead. So Aeronom hasn't been able to make his way through. And now it's Mike Dam going for the switchback. Canada versus America. It's a friendly tussle here as they head side by side through turn 15. And at the end of the day, Hartley, with a slight loss of traction, that should gift Mike Dam the inside line, but they're still alongside each other here through the final sector. Finally, at the end of the day, Mike Dam keeps that first position, and Hartley will form up behind Aeronom, no way through, and he's just losing more and more time.
Yeah, but I think Aero really knows right now that he's not fighting anyone. He's got 21 seconds to Kevin Ford. There's pretty much no way that Kevin can close up that in 9 minutes. It's just something that's almost physically impossible. So I think that he knows that it's better just to play it safe than to get in these twos battle and possibly end up in a tire wall because he doesn't want to have that happen, and he definitely doesn't want to go 4 for 5. He wants to keep that winning streak alive and keep himself undefeated this season. I don't think he's gone undefeated in any season. He's always had some sort of issue during one of the races that has prevented him from winning, and if this is his opportunity, I think that this season is probably his best.
And unfortunately, you saw at the bottom of the screen, Trevor Hill receives his second penalty of the day for exceeding the incident limit here on iRacing. It includes off tracks and possibly car contacts, loss of control, who knows, but for Trevor Hill, second time this evening, and it hasn't been the best of evenings for him here at the Circuit of the Americas. And I can also say, how does the blue flag, actually, you know what? I want to say this, how does the blue flag system work now? Do Hartley and Mike Dam, if they sort of didn't allow Aeronom through there on the main straight, or if Aeronom just didn't make his way past, would they have received possible penalties, or is it not work that way?
I don't believe so, because a lot of times iRacing will not give you a penalty for blue flag. That would have been up to the stewards, but I don't think that they would have given them a penalty, knowing that Aeronom was not forcing his way through. Now, if Aeronom had been trying to go for a move, and these two were repeatedly cutting him off or something, iRacing may have also stepped in. I'm not too familiar on the blue flag system there, but I do know that they would have received a blue flag. But I think that they have quite a few laps to let that driver by before they receive any penalty from iRacing.
And Michael Keys just made his way past Eric Klister. This is for your final positions in the MX5 class as we watch the leaders here. And I'm afraid to switch to it because last time we switched to these guys down the back end of the order, our leaders swap positions for the lead. I don't think that's going to happen through the S's. And sending it up the inside there is the 63 of Lyndall McMurphy. He's lapping Michael Key in the same class. Jacob Beasley in the Bees Knees Racing 154 machine will also make his way through. Back to Damon Hartley, though. I'm looking forward to it. This is Chris Thorman. There they are on screen now as they head to what's now the shortest straight in the world. It used to be the longest in the full layout, and Hartley remains behind. Now, do you think Hartley's playing this to perfection, Tyler, or do you think he's actually struggling to claim the lead?
I think that right now Robert Hartley is doing this all on strategy. I think he knows that he's got it in his back pocket, and I think that that was why he made that move. He wanted to let himself know that he had the pace and that he had the preferred, I would say, strategy and tire wear to Mike Dam, and know that he can make that position, or make that move, sorry, and get up into the lead. But he wanted to sit back in this second spot, and he wants to save a bit of fuel, save a bit of tires, stay in the draft, and not have that pressure of leading on him, and just let Mike Dam carry up all that. Oh, he's had to go into the pit lane. Is he under-fueled?
Oh, good. Oh, and he's smacked the MX5 heading into the pit lane. So for Hartley, that's going to be a lot of damage too. And goodness, a late pit stop we didn't expect for Robert Hartley. So for whatever reason, it's going to be a long one too, Tyler, but an unexpected pit stop. We're only expecting one here today, so it certainly could be an issue with fueling. I don't see any penalties being given. And will he change tires? I don't know. But now, Hartley's out and away. Hopefully no damage fixed. But does that explain the reason for that quicker first stop?
I think it does. I think that he underfueled that car just slightly. I think that he had issues getting that fuel strategy perfectly right. And I don't even know. I mean, we don't see a mistake like that from Robert Hartley all that often. I'm really at a loss for words right now. But look at Jim List. He's now right up on the bumper of the Excite iRacing car, and he's looking for a move here. I wouldn't be surprised if List is able to move himself up in a second.
And Rankin behind them, Elvis Rankin, who's right behind Jim List, just set the fastest lap of his race. So Rankin here is about 15 seconds behind. I don't think he's going to catch them anytime soon. But Rankin is trying to make his way past Hartley and List. I see swapping positions. And Hartley's under attack here from the D2D Esports car of Jim List. Jim List officially through.
So Jim List up into second. So Hartley's day has gone from good to bad to worse here in the matter of what is 2 minutes, I would say. So how much 2 minutes could change a race? This is literally the definition of it. I mean, this is the best living proof of how 2 minutes is all it takes to completely change up the course of a race. Hartley went from battling for the race win with Mike Dam to now having to defend and battle for second.
So this race, I mean, out of nowhere, someone's... the racing gods have just made this race a lot more interesting here in the closing stages with only a couple laps remaining. Hartley now, at the end of the day, you know, could have had the win, but you'll end up finishing second at worst. Now, this is difficult for Hartley. I think he was thinking of a move there, but instead had to sort of remain behind Jim List due to the Mustangs making their way past.
I completely agree with that. I think that, you know, he really didn't want to have any more issues. He didn't want to even run the risk of causing a collision with one of those Mustangs. And look at that. Car number 98 has a drive-through penalty for the instant limit violation. Who is that? That is going to be
Michael Key. So
Michael
Key
Key
there.
So as he comes in to serve that, we'll jump back to your lead battle here, or your second place battle, sorry, between Jim List and Robert Hartley. Dam is absolutely checked out from this one. He is now up to 29 seconds, so there is no catching Mike Dam unless he has some sort of a catastrophic failure. Robert Hartley so close behind Jim List here, but he's got to make sure that he gets this car home. He's already taken a little bit of a hit in the championship. He's not taken too much, though. Look at this battle, though. Cameron Martineau, your leader in your GS Open. And look at Jeff Jacobs down the inside. He will think better of that one. Probably the best thing for him to do. But he's looking to move himself up into third overall.
I don't know if he actually intended to make that move, Jeff Jacobs. I think he just ran a little too hot into the box. This is Mike Dam, though, and he's ready to take the win here, Tyler, possibly in a minute's time.
Yeah, Mike Dam getting ready to possibly take the win here. And let's check in on where Aeronam is. We haven't seen much of the Team Bushfink driver in this race, but he will take the white flag next time by. But we need to jump back to this battle here between List and Hartley. Hartley all up on the back of Jim List, and he is not letting him get away whatsoever. And I think he's just kind of biding his time here before he decides to make a move on Jim List. This is really nail-biting time for him, though. He needs to get himself into second place if he wants to continue that championship fight without losing too much ground to Mike Dam, arguably his biggest competitor in the field.
And we've crossed the hour mark now, so it looks like Aeronom here is on his final lap of the event. The checkered flag will go out next time round, and as you all like to say in the US, the white flag waves. And that means that Aeronom is on a pursuit towards a 5th race victory out of 5 here to begin the season. But will Hartley finish in second here at the end of the day? He's going to make his way past List. Now, Tyler is a bit too far behind, but I think it's possible here into turn 1. List already defensive.
Yeah, Jim List already having to go defensive here as he goes up into turn number 1. Hartley's going to have to try it the long way around. It's not going to come to anything, though, unless he can get the run here down the hill. It is going to be an all-out battle between these two. They fall back in line, though. The Mustang will not go through. Glenn Vigas will be very respectful of these two's battle, but that could cost him a battle here with Tyler Shiflett if he doesn't get by these two very, very quickly. Shiflett's closing in fast. He's now down to 0.6 of a second from 1.5 seconds back.
Yeah, and this is going to be tough right now. Where is Aeronom, though? We're going to have to focus on him, too, at the same time. Aeronom's going to win this race shortly. Here he is through the final sector, and Hartley has a peek into turn 12, but thinks better of it. So for Hartley, he'll remain behind. Unless he goes for a lunge here, he's got no chance. But for Aeronom, he will officially take win number 5 here out of 5 to begin his Season 15 campaign. He wins the GS class. And what a brilliant event here from the European. How about Hartley versus List? It doesn't matter about these two at the end of the day, because for Mike Dam, he's going to cross the line. There he is officially. He wins your ST class from the Circuit of the Americas for round 5.
Yeah, look at this battle here just quickly in your GS field. Jeff Jacobs tried to make a move there on Cameron Martineau, and he isn't able to do it. But let's jump back here between List and Hartley. And I think coming out of the final corner, it is going to be Jim List who will take second place here in your ST field. Look at that race between the two.
Hartley's damage didn't help for sure. And the late pit stop certainly didn't help. So Robert Hartley still with a podium at the end of the day, but it could have been ever so more. Elvis Rankin will win your open class. Cameron Martineau, we saw earlier, crossed the line, and he won your open class for your Mustangs. Travis Schwenke, at the end of the day, only 7th. And after that opening lap incident, it's still a good recovery drive nevertheless, Tyler, after it could have been a lot worse for Schwenke, let's say that.
Yeah, it certainly could have been a whole lot worse here, but it's a nice recovery to get back up into 6th place. And I think that he made something decent out of what really was a terrible spot to be in. He had first turn contact, which sent him around, or first sector contact, sorry, which sent him around, which cost him a lot of time in that race. Then just having all the issues that he had. And the results are up on your screen now. Aeronom will take the win for the team Bushfink, and it will be Kevin Ford who will come home in second after first turn contact spun him around and caused him to have to go through the field. Cameron Martineau will win in the GS Open class and finish third overall here with Jeff Jacobs in fourth. Clint Vigas will round out your top 5 with Tyler Shiflett down in 6th. Lucas Ford in 7th. Then in your ST field, Mike Dam takes the win with Jim List coming home in 2nd, Robert Hartley in 3rd, Elvis Rankin 4th, John Allen in 5th, Eric Violet 6th, Travis Swanky down in 7th, Chris Thorman 8th, DJ Alessandrini 9th, Mitchell Peak in 10th. And as we just cycle on another page, Lyndon McMurphy will finish in 11th, Jacob Beasley 12th, Greg Mack in 13th, Mike Taylor, Trevor Hill, Eric Klister, Michael Key, Greg Brockway, Russ Ruddock after a terrible start for him. He really had issues all through that race. Derek Holland, Steve Daniel, and Raymond Bader and Michael Hilliard. And that will round out your 30-car grid here tonight. This was one of the probably most action-packed races I would say that we've had, Johnny. We really had action from start to finish in that one. There was really no room for error. We saw drivers have championship contenders have big issues in that race and lose a lot of ground in what is tight championships really all the way through. But what a recovery drive also from Kevin Ford.
Yeah, it was a brilliant one for sure. Now it's time to head to post-race interviews, and Aeronom was our winner today yet again in your GS class. Now for Aeronom, it was we got you there, Aero, first of all. Just double checking.
Yeah.
A brilliant race for you yet again. 5 wins out of 5 to begin the season. Every interview seems like it's deja vu. We seem to ask the same questions. We seem to, say, okay, you've won another event here. Is the motivation still high? I assume you're driving quite well.
Yeah, it's quite high. I don't have to do any practice, so it's pretty easy to race.
For you, though, the challenges of this track, I'd assume, were the lack of long straights for getting past lap cars. At one stage, we saw you behind our lead battle for the MX-5s for over a lap, and we weren't sure whether or not you're going to make your way past. The only good thing for you is that you had a 20-second advantage when you had to deal with that.
Yeah, I had big advantage, and I know if I want to pass them, they were quite fast, only 2 seconds over lap. So if I wanted to pass, I had to take big risks, and there was no point.
Finally, who gets it done for you in the Team Bushfink car? Another brilliant win for yourself yet again here from COTA, and certainly going to be hopefully seeing the same next round for round 6.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the league sponsors, all the admins, and the drivers out there. Another good race today with the traffic, and I'd like to thank you guys at the boat.
So Aeronom there, finally, Tyler. 5 wins out of 5, and yet again, no one can stop this guy, really.
No, really, absolutely not. Nobody can. He has been the dominant one this season. Really, nobody has had the pace to touch Aeronom in that GS field, and I kind of had that feeling going into the season whenever we lost Mike Dam and Robert Hartley to the MX-5. I just had a feeling that it was going to be very difficult for Kevin Ford to close that gap. And and pace-wise and be able to compete with Aeronom. Not saying that Kevin Ford's a slow driver by any stretch. He's still incredibly talented and incredibly quick. It's just that getting on the pace of Aeronom is going to be something that's very difficult. Everyone knows how fast the guy is. He's got like 6,000 ironing and he drives for Team Bushfink. He's definitely not some slouch. It was gonna be a difficult task for him, and so far, I think that Kevin's done a good job to get close, but he's just not quite there yet.
No, certainly not. So right now, we're just trying to see who else is in the interview room. Let's try Kevin Ford in, Tyler. First of all, he's finally just made it, so he'll be stood alongside yourself. And there he is, Tyler. Over to you.
Kevin, another great race from you. You had to go on recovery drive pretty much from the start of the race. You got into turn number 1. Kind of tell us your perspective on what happened there with the contact, because that really put you on the back foot.
Yeah, it did. It's one of those situations there at turn 1 at COTA. Coming up that hill, it's just so blind trying to make that hairpin. And I thought I gave enough room there on the inside for Jeff. I think he got stacked up. He had somebody right behind him. And I think it was just a matter of an accordion effect, just a racing incident. We made contact. And the unfortunate thing on my end was it damaged my front end alignment. My steering wheel was at 2 o'clock for the whole race. So that was to drive COTA West with the steering wheel out of sync is a little challenging.
Yeah, it certainly is. I haven't had much experience on the West layout, but I have had experience here in the real world and in the sim. And I can definitely tell you that driving with a bent steering wheel here must not be the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it was a tough call. When it first happened, I thought, oh, I'm done. The wheel was just so cocked to the right. And I thought, this is going to be impossible. And I thought, well, I'm going to give it a lap or two and see how I do. I was able to hang with the guys in front of me. And I thought, well, I'm going to lose too much time if I try to bring it in and get it fixed. So I just stayed out there and battled with it and was able to just kick back, relax, just kind of get in a rhythm and just try to recover. And it paid off for us. So we were fortunate. The setup felt good tonight. So we were able to get up there and get back into second again for a change.
Yeah, and that's so unfortunate because I think that this is probably one of those events that really you only finished 19 seconds off of Aeronom, so it's not like you were exponentially behind, but having that damage and having that obviously being spun around right at the beginning of the race kind of throws off your confidence a little bit, I'm sure. But I think that you really could have had a good race there and maybe even been able to challenge Aero there towards the end if you had not have had that first turn contact, but still, unfortunate as it is racing and it does happen. But who gets it done for you and that Ricmotech team?
Well, I want to send a big thanks out to Frank Rico at Ricmotech for his sponsorship of the series and all the help that he does for all of our drivers. We do appreciate everything he puts forth, as well as Chris Thorman at Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. We do appreciate their sponsorship. They've been going strong with us for a while now, and we do appreciate their support. And of course, my wife and family and everybody who's out there watching, I do appreciate your support. Thanks, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone next week. We have a big one coming up next week.
Yeah, should be awesome to see. I believe we head to Sonoma.
Sonoma, yeah.
One of my favorite tracks in the entire world. So I cannot wait to commentate on that one for 60 minutes of racing. That's going to be an awesome race.
Yes, it will. Great track, a lot of undulation, hills, dips, corners, off camber, you name it, it has it. It's a great course. So we're looking forward to another exciting round there next week.
Yeah, well, absolutely awesome. Congratulations to you on another second place finish. Good luck going into next week. Hopefully we see you a bit closer to the front and have a little bit less bad luck next week out in Sonoma. I think it's going to be a bit better circuit for first turn incidents, at least, because first turn is really not existent when it comes to overtaking. So hopefully you have a bit better luck next week. And again, congratulations on second place.
Thanks so much, guys. We do appreciate the broadcast. You put on a great show. Thanks now. Have a good one.
Now it'll be time to speak to our winner from your ST class, and that is the Canadian Mike Dam. And welcome, Mike, to post-race coverage. And of course, not only victory for yourself, number 3 for the season, and the championship lead. How does that sound heading into round 6 next week?
Yeah, it's definitely a plus. I haven't. I'm not usually one to lead the Mazda class. I mean, I know it was tight entering this race. It was like a 2-point spread for the top 4 positions. So it's definitely good to get that qualifying points, get the win. I mean, it was kind of handed to me in a way. I mean, a lot of my rivals had unfortunate issues, whether it was contact or just strategy miscalculation. So I'll take it. Yeah, and looking forward to the rest of the races.
And for you, the pace was absolutely extraordinary today. I mean, again, you did not start from. Did you wait? Sorry, excuse me. Did you start from pole position? I'm getting confused here.
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah,
just
I
confirm that? Yes.
Yes, I
you
did. I know.
Sorry,
I know. It's
excuse me.
abnormal. I don't usually
No, it's
start
not.
from pole here in the Mazda. So
No, sorry. I was looking at the wrong name there, so I got confused mid-sentence. But for you, nevertheless, though, didn't have the lead in the opening stages, I should say, but you were
Yeah.
able to reclaim that from Robert. Again, I felt like you just had the pace on Robert Hartley, and I'm not sure if he had a fuel issue in the final stint or
Yeah, he
something.
did.
But yeah, but at the end of the day, I don't think it mattered. I think you would have been able to win that race, nevertheless.
yeah, I would have hoped so. I put my practice in. I felt I was fast here, so I felt I could pull it off. And I mean, like I said, unfortunate things happen, but at the end of the day, I felt like I was fast enough to win here. So I liked the result.
Excuse me, apologies. I'm having some microphone issues here post-race interview coverage, but I have to also add your pace, as you said in the MX-5s, you don't normally lead the standings. You now have 3 race wins to your name. I don't think they really happen through flukes, basically. I mean, has there been something different you've unlocked this season in the MX-5, now moving from the Mustang to this class? Is there something that in this car that you've unlocked that you didn't have before?
I don't know. Maybe it's a pretty simple car, but it's not that simple to drive. But I don't know whether it's just extra experience with pack racing, and I don't know. These guys are all fast. They're all fast in the Mazda. They've all driven them for who knows when. These guys are experienced in this car, and I mean it's not easy to win against these guys in this car. So I count it lucky that I've got 3 wins on the season. A little bit of it has to be due to some sort of luck or whatever. Like they haven't been 100% the cleanest races. I've had some of them gifted to me, but you got to stick with it, and it's tight racing, and things can happen. So I like how the season's going.
And finally, who'd you like to thank after today's brilliant victory from the Circuit of the Americas?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank all the guys I race with. They make it what it is. They're awesome drivers, and just Kevin and Jeff for putting this thing on. It's a great series. Tons of fun to race in, and it's professional too. So, and just Frank at Ricmotech for sponsoring us, giving us some great equipment.
So there you go. That was Mike Dam, and he ends up victor for the 3rd time this season. Thanks again, Mike. And we'll
Thanks, guys.
Heading to Sonoma next week, of course. And our final interview for the day, Tyler, will be Jim List. He's stood alongside yourself.
Yeah, so Jim, another good race from you. You came out with a 2nd place finish in that one. Obviously, you would have liked to be 1 place higher on the podium, but I think you'll pretty much take what you can get, I'm assuming, at this point. That's points in the bag, and that's points against your competitors that are really crucial in this super tight championship. I think coming into tonight, we had 2-point spread or something crazy like that over the course of the top 4. So with how close this is, you can't really be complaining about a 2nd place, I'm sure.
No, not at all. I mean, especially with how our year started, the last 2 races have been pretty brutal for me, with Bathurst getting into a little incident at the bottom of the hill. And then I think in, what was the one before that, Zanford, I went off and clipped the last little chicane on the end and damaged my car pretty bad and had to retire. So yeah, second's not bad. So I'm happy to be back in fighting form. But Dam and Rob were just in a league of their own tonight, and with that little incident at the beginning of the race, it really did spread out the field pretty early on. So I just kind of sat back and was kind of trying to keep my off tracks to a minimum, but went in for my first pit stop and didn't take enough fuel, so kind of had to coast it along for the second stint. And then I saw Rob coming out of the pits with some damage, and I was like, all right, well, guess we're gonna race these last couple of laps. So
Yeah, well, he fell victim to the exact same thing then. I guess didn't manage his fuel as well as you did. Obviously, you were able to make it to the end without having any issues and without having to come in for another stop, because that is so crucial. Obviously, we saw he went from battling for a race win to hardly even holding on to a third place finish. And whenever you've got something so close like the ST field, it's crucial that you get those calculations exactly right. But congratulations, really, on being able to fuel save enough, because I know it's very difficult in this MX-5. They don't fuel save that great. So, yeah, it's definitely a feat in of itself just to be able to fuel save enough to get to the end.
yeah, a lot of short shifting and a lot of ride in the clutch. Going in there, really fast and just putting the clutch in, and hopefully you don't get an off track or hit one of the bollards or something like that, or the big curbing, especially around this track. So, yeah, every second counts with these guys. They're all top of iRacing. DJ, Mike, Dan, Travis, Rob, all those guys are super fast. So, yeah, to stick with them, you have to get every tenth of a second out of these hour-long races.
Well, you certainly do, but congratulations again on a second place finish. Who gets it done for you and that entire D2D sports team?
Oh, I just want to thank all my guys. All of us are a team, and we all really help out with each other, and we all share setups and work together really well. So I mean, I want to thank everybody there. Without these guys, we wouldn't be where we are today. I think we've all had a couple of pretty hard races the last couple of races, so I don't think we've been showing our full potential. But yeah, I just wanted to thank all those guys, and thank you guys too for putting on this awesome broadcast.
Well, there you go. Jim List, that is second place for you in the MX-5. Congratulations once again. And we hope to speak with you again next week from Sonoma.
Oh, thanks, guys, so much. I also need to thank Ricmotech and Performa also. They'll get mad at me if I don't.
Well, there you go. Jim List, second place in your ST field. And that is going to conclude interviews tonight. But, Johnny, what a race we had here from COTA. And just like Kevin said, we go to the track that has every single type of everything. We head to Sonoma. And I think that we're still having a bit of issues with Johnny's mic, so I don't think we're going to have him here for the rest of this race. So unfortunate end for Johnny's mic. I think it just decided that it didn't want to work anymore. But I think that that is going to pretty much conclude the coverage of the Ricmotech Sports Car Series here from COTA West. We head in 1 week's time to Sonoma, the one and only Sonoma, for another 60-minute event in the morning to afternoon time slot. So we are going to have some awesome racing from there, and we cannot wait to see you in a week's time for that one. So from us here at Apex Racing TV, from all of us at Apex Racing TV, we'll see you next time.